Not all open source licenses are viral. Not all open source licenses use a copyleft approach to licensing of open source software. Perhaps the most common permissive open source license is the BSD license. BSD stands for the Berkeley Software Distribution, which was a version of Linux produced and distributed by Berkeley. And this license is very simple. It more or less simply says that the software may be freely used, modified, and distributed in object code form or in source code form, so long as a couple of conditions are met. And that is that the copyright notice needs to be included within the source code form, or it needs to be included in the documentation of object code forms that are distributed. And there is a broad disclaimer, and permission is not granted to use any of those notices in a way that might imply the endorsement of the licensor or the copyright holder of the covered software. Earlier versions of the BSD included language that said all advertisements had to include some language such as this software includes components that were licensed under this license from so-and-so copyright holder. But that led to some unintended consequences where components were used in some pieces of software which were then included in others and then included in others, and there were layers of disclosures in order to meet the obligation under the BSD. Later versions of the BSD license don't include that advertising clause, but they still do include the very permissive license. And they include that requirement for the copyright notice to be provided, and they do include a very broad disclaimer of liability and disclaimer of reps and warranties related to the software. Because it is so permissive, it is perhaps the license most commonly chosen when parties wish to make the source code available for their software to the broad public without accepting liability attached to that, so the disclaimer applies, and without causing it to be a copyleft license or a viral license. This is not a viral license in any way, and therefore the BSD license is an extremely popular, permissive open source software license.